Hey all, welcome to DevTechJr. In this video, we'll be looking at CSS units and we'll be understanding the two different types of CSS units to better understand how front-end web design works on the internet. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So to best demonstrate these concepts to you, these very important concepts, I've just opened up another folder on VS Code, and I have an HTML document that's linked up to this empty external style sheet. So there it is, the link. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the first type of CSS unit. So the first type of CSS unit is absolute measurement. Absolute measurements are a type of CSS units, so they're like a family of CSS units that are absolute. That means they never change on responsive design unless you physically make them to do so. And that means by using CSS media queries or anything like that. So they don't naturally change on their own as per the viewport size. And I really don't like going near these because they're really unreliable. And I wanted to quickly show them to you guys. So on our CSS one, so we have an H1 here. Let's go ahead and target it. So because it doesn't have a class, we can simply target it and add our declaration block. Let's add font size. And you guys might have remembered, but these are all CSS units. Oh my god, so many CSS units. And half of these are absolute ones. So let me show you guys. This is 0 pixels, right? So we can go change it up till 10 pixels. And let's save it. Okay, so that's 10 pixels right there. Now, the thing to remember is, once again, they don't change on their own. So let's make it 30 pixels. And what I mean by that is, if we go into our console, select on the responsive design one, and so yeah, this is what I mean. So when we're working with responsive design, we always want to make sure our website is as responsive as possible. It's the 21st century. Many people are using the websites on their phones. So we want to make sure it looks good on all screen sizes. But you guys might notice, as soon as the screen gets smaller, the font size does not get smaller, and that's a problem. It only gets smaller when our screen size is too small. And at this stage, the HTML gets overridden, and that's why it turns out like this, the HTML and CSS. So unless they're overridden, they just still stay the same on all viewports. And that's not good. That's not good at all. And so this is absolute measurements. Once again, they do not change despite how your screen is. Okay, so pixels are one of the more popular ones, but you might be surprised there's actually also centimeters. So let's see that. They're centimeters, once again. They don't change unless they're overridden. They still stay the same. There's also millimeters. So if you know math, 14 millimeters is the same as 1.4 centimeters. So it still stays the same. And we also have inches, interestingly. So let's save that there. There, we get inches. And once again, this is not responsive. Let's look at this through an iPhone X. See, it stays like this. Yeah, so not really reliable. Okay, so this is absolute measurements. Now, we're going to be moving into the second type. So let's just save that there. The second type of CSS units are relative CSS units. And relative CSS units mean that they change like a variable. So they're variables that can change over time, mainly according to the viewport size. And I want to show you guys them. These are the ones you really actually want to work with when you're working with responsive design. So the first type of relative measurement, are ems. So ems, so if I type in 1em, you can see it changes. Ems. So how ems work is they look at their parent element and they're relative to their parent element, and they actually just multiply the default size of the parent element. So that probably didn't make sense, but let me show you a little bit more clearly. So now in my settings, you can see that if I go into my settings and I just type in font size, okay, there we go, font size. You can see that we get these options, and right now it's in medium, and once again, just notice the size of it, so 1M. If I change this here, so if I change this, the whole browser's default font settings change also. So if I make it very large, watch what happens here. It grows bigger. Did you see that? So if I make it very small, it changes here. So default, what happens here is the body, so this is located in the body, right? So the body, so this is the body, the full page. The body's default font size would be the browser's. So currently, if the browser's is medium, then it would become 1 times the parent font size. So naturally, what happens is browsers are usually optimized for 16 pixels. That's the default font size. So if I make it 3M right now, it multiplies 3 times the default, the browser font size. So if I save it, it becomes bigger. So 3 times the medium font size. Okay, that's how M's work. The next type of font size I wanted to show you guys are rems. And before I get to rems, I just wanted to point out why I don't advise you use this, why I don't advise you to use M's, because they get really confusing when you start nesting a lot of divs, and you start nesting a lot of CSS stuff that you want to select in CSS inside one another. So if I have another div inside another div and inside another div, and I use M's for my CSS units, you can get pretty out of hand. So I always suggest you don't use M's whenever you can, especially when you're nesting a lot of stuff. But other than that, they actually work fine. So the next type of CSS unit I wanted to show you guys, the next and last one actually, sorry, not last one, there's actually one more we want to get to. It's rems. So rem, R-E-M, rem, this is also a different type of CSS font. And how rems work is they look at the root of the HTML file, so the root font size, so the default plain, the first font size, the main font size of the HTML web page, and they base this off of that. So 3 times the root font size. So let me quickly demonstrate. So I can actually change that up here. So if I type in HTML, and I added my declaration block, and I actually put in font size here, font size 10 pixels, what happens is it will multiply 3 times the root font size. And the root font size right now is 10 pixels. So 3 times 10 pixels will be 30 pixels. So it will be 30 pixels. Let's check. It's 30 pixels. Yep, so now if I put it to 5 rem, once again what happens is it multiplies 5 times the root font size, which is 10, so it should be fixed 50 pixels. 50 pixels. And this is really nice, especially when you, so it's really nice because you can just declare it one place, and then from then onwards you can change it up. Okay, so this is rems. Very, very nice. So the last but not least, the font size that I wanted to show you guys was percentages. Now this might sound crazy, but we actually have percentages in our CSS. So we can actually declare font size as 15%. Actually, to best demonstrate this, let's actually choose a div. So let's remove this. Let's put a div, and in the div, let's put an H1 and say this. So we have a div, so let's select that div here. And how percentages work is they're percentages. They just take on what the parent element. So currently the parent element right now would be body, and which would pretty much be the same as the web page. So I could actually make the div, so I can put height, I can put 100%, and let's also change up background color to cornflower blue. So if I save it right now, it takes up 100% of the body. And of course, if I actually remove the body tags and save it right now. Oh. So what happens here was it takes up the div itself, it takes up 100% of the available space. Now, if we actually inspect it, you guys might be wondering what happened to all of this white space. Let's actually scrap the responsive design one. Yep, and if I put it in elements right now, and I go over the HTML, you can see that the HTML, this is only the HTML portion, especially if I go into body, this is the body. Of course, there's padding and default padding. We can actually change that here also. So let's go up here. Let's put that there. And let's put in padding 0, margin 0. And now if I save it, pay close attention, this is the body. And our div is indeed taking up 100% of the body's height. So we can actually change that to 80%. So now the body, yep, so it's taking up 80% of the available space for the body. Okay, so we can also do the same with width, width. So I can actually put width 50%, and it only takes up 50% of the body. Okay, this is percentages. They are very, very interesting CSS units. Anyways, guys, we've looked at multiple CSS units. We've looked at relative CSS units and absolute CSS units. Now, you guys might be having the question, which CSS unit should I use? All of them have unique properties, and some have cons, some have pros. Which one is the best one to use? To answer that question, I will actually give you the answer in the next video. I think it's a little bit of a detailed discussion that I want to touch on, and I think I've already taken up enough of the time. So I will see you guys in the next video where I will show you the best CSS unit to use for your website project. Thanks for watching.
If you're interested in learning programming the easy way, then please make sure you like this video and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when the next video comes out. Once you have, please let me know down in the comments. I'll make sure to reply to you. Thanks. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know down in the comment section, or simply join our Discord server and you can post them there. Thank you.